Hi, welcome. This is a first part of a two-part recording that I did with my good friend Shatai about the membership site. In it, she asks me all kinds of questions that perhaps you guys are having about what the membership site is actually going to be. I know a lot of you are excited about it, but perhaps having this video and understanding a little bit better about the intentions behind what we're going to be doing from January 1st is going to amplify and create more excitement for you and help you to make a decision as to whether or not the membership site is for you. Like I said, this is just part one of a two-part series that has to do with this topic, and the second one will be coming out later on this month. But for now, you will hear the aspects on the human level, my responses as Jessie to the questions that Shatai is offering in this particular recording. The second part of this to look forward to is going to be Shatai talking with Vagrein about what their intention is for the membership site. And I think you'll be actually quite surprised by what comes through, both from myself. I responded to things with answers that I didn't even know were the case, and especially what Vagrein has to say about whether or not you should join. So please enjoy this first part of this two-part series. The end of the year and everyone gets on the whole bandwagon of like what's coming up, what's the forecast for next year. So that energy is always around at this time of year anyway. And then there's the whole energy of like the holidays and like the family stuff and like what happened in the past type of stuff around this type of year. So that's always been sort of the themes that come up around the end of the year.
Yeah.
But then throw in like what's going on in like a lot of the world with politics and all kinds of things. And they're just kind of like, well, buckle up.
Oh,
They've been a bit odd in terms of that. And also like even today, even a couple sessions I've had recently, they've been more along the lines of like, you know, with the people they can give tough love to, they're like getting really along the tough love type of thing. Like you are like, come on, enough now and do what you came here to do because it's time. So I'm feeling that's like ramping up. So that might be also why this kind of like membership site has been coming up like so aggressively for me to get this all going. I really can't even remember when I thought this up or what I'm actually even doing this for. So that's another sign to me that something's, you know, brewing and I don't have all the information, but it really feels like this is the time for this to be released. So what to say about it?
I definitely want to talk to you first. So you dreamed up this membership site, and
Yes.
one of your pillars of your mission is to, and I know this personally because I've experienced coaching with you and I've been at Vagrein events and retreat with you. So I've benefited greatly from my relationship with you and Vagrein so far. But it's to guide and uplift individuals, to guide and uplift individuals. So, how does the overarching mission of the membership site align with that mission? And tell us a little bit how this came to be.
That's a great question. Okay, so yes, correct. One of my main missions, and I've always said it's a selfish mission, is to guide and uplift people to be more of themselves, to step more into their potential, to have more confidence, to have more self assurance, to know that they can just do it, whatever it means for them. And the reason for why this is part of my mission is because I don't think that I'm capable of doing anything on my own in this world. I can't have the world that I want to have and be experiencing and live in and feel on my own skin in, you know, my physical form by myself. I can't do all the changes that need doing. I can't help all the people that need helping. I can't, you know, really achieve anything that would have a great impact. But I do know where I am efficient, and that is in impacting other people to be impactors. So the membership site is my aim to use my gift, which is channeling, which is Vagrein, as well as my ability to impact others, to get people into a state where they are as confident as I am in what I do, in whatever it is that they do. And I know that one of my superpowers is my confidence in my mission. It's very difficult for me to get to a place where I'm doubtful, and that is a practiced behavior. That is not something that's just sort of like, oh, she was born without doubts. It's not like that. It's practiced and it's learnable and teachable. So one of the sort of side quests with the membership site, aside from providing, let's say for, you know, the amethyst tier, all of this Vagrein content that people have been asking me to give them access to for years, the side quest is to be in a space where a community is created that I have access to keep being that cheerleader and to keep being that example of, hey, someone's doing something, even though it's crazy, or someone's doing something, even though it's not the usual way of going about things. Maybe I can too. Maybe I can start that YouTube channel. Maybe I can open the little coffee shop on the corner. Maybe I can start a multinational charity organization. Who knows, right? But that's the whole thing. Each and every one of us stepping into our gifts makes this world a better place. So my main goal with everything I do is to kind of, in my own little way, guide or coax or tempt people into having that same sort of experience.
That's fabulous. Thank you. And this is a precursor to the next question, but most of the people that come in contact with your work coming into a higher connection with their higher selves and gaining spiritual growth?
And Vagrein would say that they are their higher self in many ways. People tend to still personify their higher self. They think that their higher self has a personality and has all these intentions and has even judgment of them at times. And that might be the case because we are sort of fractals of the same thing going all the way up or all the way down or all the way out, whatever you want to see it in any way. But what we also are is that connective tissue of the all that is. So when someone's connecting with Vagrein, in the same way as when someone's connecting with any other human being, what they are connecting with is more of themselves. They're connecting with more of the energy that is there either to show them something, to encourage them towards something, to offer them something, to invite them to something. So whether it be Vagrein or, the neighbor's dog that, is chasing your cat around, whatever it might be, that is a aspect of yourself that is coming into evidence. Many people and all of the people who come to find Vagrein's work resonate with it, not because it has some sort of superpower, but because they're recognizing themselves in that particular type of transmission and in that particular truth that's being offered to them on larger or smaller scales. And anyone who's coming into the membership site who has an excitement about that has recognized that already. They've recognized that sort of familiarity of, hey, this is more of me. These are truths that I suspected inside of myself, or these are things that I want to aspire towards or become more of in myself that I already am. And so having more and more access to that content, with which, yes, is limited to being absorbed on an intellectual level in terms of transmissions they're metaphysical, but the content is, we're trying to absorb it on an intellectual level. Yeah. Even so, every time you are resonating with something, you're having that upgrade and that up level. So I definitely say that people are coming into contact more and more with their higher self, and the desire for my particular community is people who want to be in a space where they're in contact probably almost exclusively with the truth of who they really are.
So that really is the defining factor of the membership site, is we're going to have that in common.
Yeah, absolutely. That the commonality of everyone in there having already resonated with this sort of level of information. And it's not level like as in hierarchy, but it does have a specific frequency. And it is, at times, I'm very aware, a difficult frequency to digest and to be and hold space with. Now, Vagrein does, and I do, as sort of the messenger, does do its best hold the human aspects of these types of truths too, and sort of give you that balance of, okay, these are universal truths of the isness of all that is, and yet you are having this human experience, and you are allowed to have this human experience, and you came here to have this human experience. Not just because everything's an illusion do you get to go and nullify your entire existence and stay in that space of nihilism eternal, right? I have this joke, I call it bliss nihilism, because you understand that nothing matters, and yet then you're sort of blissfully human in your human experience, because in the understanding that nothing matters, everything is fundamentally significant and just here to play with.
The perfect cup of cocoa. Yeah, absolutely. I just made one. So that's awesome. And we're going to go into some of the details of what's inside in a little bit. But before, generally speaking, like if you think of what you're building, what you've built as an architectural endeavor, like what's different with this architecture? What's different about this membership you've been probably perusing? There's lots of different contexts. What What are you building here that's different from other ones that we can expect to experience? Without going into all the details, because we'll talk about that a little more.
Sure. So, I don't know what other people do. I've always had this as a superpower and a flaw of myself, that I can't focus really on what anyone else is doing. I hear a lot about people worrying about, comparing themselves to others and stuff like that. Unfortunately, I've never been able to be anything but sort of what I am. And the membership site is no different than that, in that I really don't know what I'm doing. Not from a space of, oh, this is going to be, something that is not useful, but I don't have a framework in terms of what someone else has done. So what I've done is created, from the perspective of, if I was absolutely obsessed and in love with Vagrein, what would I want? And so that's what I'm trying to deliver, or what I have been delivering, is an extensive library of transcripts that is being added to on a regular basis, that we're going to be working behind the scenes to get you not even new transcripts, because by the time we get to the new ones, we're going to have given you the hundreds that already exist.
Yeah.
Of transcripts, of sessions, onto audio files, of just all these things that I'm even digging out that I've done that I don't even remember doing, whether it be meditations or EFT tappings or transmissions of various different types. So the audio library, a video library of all of the archived session files that were group sessions that weren't originally shared with everybody, because maybe there were those, one-off group sessions that we did. God, there's so much in there. And then the thing I'm probably on a personal level most excited about is the community element, because that's the part that, as I'm working on it, I'm getting more and more excited about the potential of what people can bring to this particular membership site. The forum is coming together in terms of, there will be areas where people can share their favorite books, where people can share what they do and their gifts, where they can communicate about this awesome thing that's in their neighborhood. They can talk about that cake that they baked. I know a lot of people in spiritual type of circles, we tend to be service to others people, but then we have a little bit of a struggle having regular friendships. So I'm hoping that there'll be a space for those to form as well. And I'm just excited for the connection and the knowing that each person will have in this group. And I know this because I've done this with my courses or with groups I've led before. The knowing that that common connection of understanding is already a starting point towards stepping into oneself, right? Vagrein doesn't leave room for people to pretend very much to be somebody else, because they love so much everyone as they actually are. And that can actually be really confronting as well at times. So if you've spent a lot of your life hiding, or you've spent a lot of your life believing that you have to be different than what you are, and then there is some energy, whether it be a community or an entity or a person that comes up and says, it's okay for you to be who you are, there's a process there also of mourning and of sorrow and of letting go of the illusion of having to be different. And I'm also hoping that this community will hold each other through those steps. When someone, for example, who's always wanted to be a baker and who's been miserable, I don't know, in a job as a pharmacist for their whole life, finally does take that step and goes and starts a bakery in their kitchen and goes through and does all the paperwork and does this and that and blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
When they come to the day where they sell their first cake, right? And the person on the receiving end of that gift is so appreciative, and that person gets hit with a wave of, oh my God, this is me. The first reaction is deep sorrow and mourning. It's joy, yes, but then something else happens. And I find that a lot of people don't go forward with their dreams because the impact of that emotion on your own is a lot to handle. So, whether it's starting your YouTube channel or moving away from a career that isn't serving you or leaving a relationship that's not serving, whatever it is, if we can help people to hold the space for it's okay that you weren't a baker for the past 20 years, right? It's okay that you didn't make this step earlier. Then that person has that strength and that support to continue moving to bake their second and third and fourth and 20th cake. And I think that is really how we're going to get through the changes that are coming up together.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I can say, having been to your retreat, the element of community has already been really impactful, even after a few days. And the amount of trust that was already there when we came in was
Mm.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah. It's
personally
like
been
the retreat on a bigger scale, maybe a less intense scale. So especially I'm thinking right now about the amethyst sort of, which is the introductory tier. It's that community aspect and that space to go to and say, I'm willing to be more of myself with these people first, maybe, and then, on to my in-laws at Christmas dinner or whatever it might be. And it's a safe space to experiment with that, and then also have the confidence to go back into your life. And even when, someone does confront you and says, no, actually you can't be a baker, you're not going to be able to pay your mortgage or whatever it is, go, okay, yes, okay, true. And also, there are people who do believe in me. So maybe I can believe in myself a little bit. So yeah, I think that that'll be a beautiful difference, I guess, of this membership site than maybe some others. But again, like I said, I don't really know what other
Yeah.
people do with theirs. Yeah.
No, that's fabulous. And to that point, I've always found you very creative and entertaining. I found you on YouTube and just loved your style and your authenticity. And obviously, you're very much yourself, which is very inspiring. What inspired the choice of labradorite, amethyst, moldavite for the tiers? And how do these stones reflect the energy and the themes on each level?
So now this is going to be one of those things where I again have no idea really why. In fact, when I found myself coming to the moment of naming the tiers, first of all, I didn't even know that they would have crystal names, because I'm not, I mean, I have some crystals in the background here, but I'm not really into crystals. I don't know much about them. I do know some transmissions that I've had about them, or sometimes there'll be someone in front of me that is interested in crystals, and we'll get into a conversation for Vagrein. We'll get into a conversation with them about that. But that particular choice or inspiration, whatever it was, didn't really necessarily come from me. I'd also say that because I've recently produced several videos with Vagrein about, how maybe it's not a great idea to get involved with Moldavite. Okay. So when Moldavite name of the top tier, the one that in theory is going to be like the majority of my focus, I was like, what are you talking about? Why are we like, I just published these videos saying like, watch out, take it easy. I've just heard you transmit several times that in some videos that aren't even published to clients about moldavite, because it does come up as a crystal quite often, strangely. And so I was a little bit like, hey Vagrein, what's the situation with the moldavite? And my understanding is that to choose to wear that crystal or to have that crystal in your field is to choose to accelerate and to have an awareness, a knowing that your acceleration and your growth is not necessarily comfortable. It's not necessarily rainbows and butterflies. It is very much facilitated by the things that will be most challenging to you. So, my one of my Moldavite stories was I put a ring on, and then, basically the next day my bag gets stolen off my shoulder when I was already in a space of being like, oh, I'm a weak defenseless person and I can't help myself. And I was already, so it accelerated me to a space where now I'm running down the street. I've told this story and I'm chasing this bag thief, screaming at the top of my lungs and discovering actually I can, not necessarily, I didn't get the bag back, but I can take action. I'm not scared.
Yeah.
So it accelerated me into, it's not necessarily the moldavite. This is just, how things connect together. But that's my understanding of that crystal. And my understanding of what we're going to be doing in the Moldavite tier is that we are going to be in a space where, while in a supportive community, it is going to be an acceleration. It is going to be a challenge. It's not going to be necessarily comfortable. And you are going to be asked constantly, not by me, but by yourself, right? So it's not me that's going to cause these sort of confrontations. I'm not a tough teacher type of thing, but through being in that container, my understanding is we're going to be asking ourselves, who do I want to be on a regular basis? And coming to those conclusions, choices after choices after choices of who do you want to be? So it's an accelerated container for the moldavite. The labradorite level, labradorite, again, is a crystal I don't know too much about, but it's so mystical, isn't it? It's so magical. It has so many facets, so many colors, so much changing with the angles. You move it around, you look at it, and it's got something else going on. It's got all these different energies in it. And My sort of metaphor for this in the membership site is that in that particular tier, what's going to be happening is you're going to be coming into all of yourself. So all of the facets, all of the layers, all of the light and the reflection and the shadows and the whatever it is, that is your space where radical, and I use this term a lot, radical self-acceptance is able to occur. If you can come to a space where you can be 100% comfortable with the things that you really dislike about yourself, you're getting to a position where you're seeing yourself as your higher self sees you. So that's really what that middle tier is going to be like. Not necessarily the direct impact of the Moldavite tier, because you're getting a trickle down sort of experience. You're getting the same content, but it's not you that it's been directed at. And at the same time, you do have that space to interact with other people who are in an excitement to come into a space of radical self-acceptance, that community type space, that space where you can share what you need to share, where you can, I'm not someone who's going to, like, in fact, I've already set it up in the forum. I want people to self-promote. I want people to learn how to inform others what they're here for and what they can offer. Because I find that in other communities, you have situations where nobody's allowed to say anything because nobody wants any sales. Now, it's not about sales for me. I've had to go through the road of learning what informing is compared to what sales are, right? If nobody knows what you're doing, how could you possibly ever expect to be able to quit your day job, right? If this is what the goal is, for us all to be able to be 24/7 spiritual providers who are here to uplift humanity, right? How are you going to do that if nobody knows what you're doing? So that is sort of the labradorite tier. And then the amethyst tier. I mean, amethyst is one of those crystals that is powerful. I'd say it's powerful. It has transformative properties. It has protective properties. When I think of it, I wonder if I have any right here. No, I don't even. I just ordered some. And at the same account, it's gentle.
Yeah.
If you put those three crystals together, right? And I've already sort of envisioned it. In fact, that's why I'm getting the amethyst. I've envisioned sort of putting them together. And when I feel into the energy of those three together, it's the amethyst, the larger community of maybe the ones who aren't necessarily right now the leaders, or not necessarily right now ready to step, ready to quit their day job, but marinating on it. That's what holds the glue together. There's no base if there's no safety, right? And I find that crystal to be extremely safe. So I feel like the people in that session, in that group, not that they're going to have a safe, of course it's all safe, but not that they're going to have like a mundane experience, but it's an experience in which it is, because of the numbers and because of the level and the way that it's trickled down, is really forming a base for a community to then be able to rise up, whoever is ready in that community to be risen up.
Beautiful. So that brings us, that's beautiful description of the inspiration and the qualities of each group. That brings maybe to more tactically broad strokes. And I know that you can probably refer us to a chart that I saw, but in broad strokes, what is included in each one? And then I know that the Vagrein fans are really going to want to know, what part did Vagrein take, or is Vagrein taking in the delivery and the creation of the materials through the membership platform?
Sure. So let's start from the bottom up then. So the Amethyst group has access to the entire transcript library that is like that up until such point as it's available. So right now we have a certain amount at launch, and then there will be more every week. And we'll see, then we'll come into a rhythm of how often and how many are released. But all the transcript files, all the audio files, all of the video files that sort of were not necessarily published yet, with the exception of the live one-day events. So I did 3 events this year. I did London, Toronto, and Boulder. The Amethyst tier will get each quarter access to one of those on top of everything else that they're getting. So I didn't want to sort of say like, no, that's exclusive material, you don't get it. But I wanted to sort of not overwhelm people with too much of these events, which were very structured and did have a theme throughout, because I do feel like at that sort of level, they do need a little bit of guidance in terms of like, if you're going to sit through 3 of these events at once, it might be too much, too close together. So it's better to go back to sort of older Vagrein, read it through, take your time with it. And I know this from experience also with the book. I've spoken to countless people who have read the white book, what people are now calling the white book, Vagrein Seeking Ends When Sharing Begins, and have told me it's taken them, and they don't know why, years to get through this thing. They cannot get through the book. They love the book, but they are clocking out, or their brain is simply not processing it. So for the amethyst tier, that was a decision that was made to make sure that every quarter you could take your time with one of these longer sort of organized group sessions. The amethyst tier also gets access to the forum and all of the sections of the forum. So if you're interested in figuring out what the book of the month is and joining the discussion on that, there's access to that. If you want to promote your massage parlor, there's access to that. There's access to everything else that's in that tier. And then there are also discounts for everything that I'm offering throughout the year. So there's discounts on the monthly Zoom sessions that I hold with Vagrein. So that is one of the things that Vagrein will be leading. And I'll talk a little bit about that as well. And then also to the retreats, to the one-day in-person events, etc. There's a discount even for the Amethyst members. So that in and of itself already makes, like, the discount for the Zoom sessions is 50% off. So whereas now people are paying $30 euros to come to the sessions, that makes it then 15. If you're on the Amethyst tier, it makes it $15 for you. The Labradorite tier has all of that, plus all of the one-day sessions. So they are getting all of those 3 sessions. And then as the new ones roll out, we'll get access to those as well. They're also getting access to the Moldavite group sessions, which is not something that the Amethyst tier has. So people in the Labradorite get to see the replay, and they get to have sort of a peeping Tom type of experience of what is the next teaching, what is the next level, how are we leveling up into what's going on in the Moldavite tier a little bit. They also have even heavier discounts. And I'm trying to think what else. The retreat recordings. So the Labradorite tier get much more content and better discounts, and also a little bit more of the experience of what's happening in the higher tier. And then the Moldavite tier get these monthly, at least, because the Moldavite tier is evolving. So the Moldavite tier is like my pet project. I'm going to use the people in the tier as my guinea pigs for any creative idea that Vagrein or I come up with during anything we're doing. So I'll often get like spontaneous impulses to do things, whether it be writing the next book or it be creating a course. Like I did the Hocus Pocus Focus course last year at the beginning of the year. And that was something that came through as one of these impulses. What I found, one of the frustrations I've had since I've been coaching and since I've been channeling, is that when I have these impulses, it then takes a ton of work to get people excited about it or to get people involved in it. And my intention with the Moldavite group is to have that group there that is simply the group that gets to have access to everything as it comes up. So I'm actually feeling that the book that is meant to come through Vagrein, A Call to Change, it's going to start moving again soon. And I was thinking, hey, you know what would be awesome? Wouldn't it be cool to like write the book and publish the chapters to this group as it's coming out? And like just, have them get excited about the new content as it's coming out, etc. And Vagrein was like super excited about that as well. So there's things that come through that group's going to have. I'm also intending to make it sort of a mastermind. Mm-hmm. So I don't expect that I will be leading the group as much as the group will eventually be leading itself. Course guidance or guidelines in terms of keeping it into a space where it's not getting out of the intentions of what we sort of collectively have, which is that radical self-acceptance, the self-love, the unity consciousness, the understanding of the wonderful challenges that our lives bring us and how those are actually working for us. Bringing that into a space where the people in that group then take it and run with it on their own. And maybe even branching out. Maybe at some point I'm going to be like, hey, Moldavite people, can you set up groups of 10 of you with the Labradorite people and like now, facilitate them. I don't know where it goes, but I do know that I'm so excited about what's going to happen with that, the mentorship aspects and the mastermind aspects of it. So that group already will have monthly meetings with me and free access. By the way, the Labradorite also has free access to the monthly Vagrein calls. So those calls that are currently ticketed, both Labradorite and Moldavite have free access to those for the duration of their subscriptions. So like the ticket, for example, December 16th, that's free to everybody on those 2 tiers. And then also, again, discounts to anything that would be, a project or retreat or a 1-day event with Vagrein are really quite 25% in the Moldavite tier. So it's really exciting to have that really intimate group, and it's also really exciting to have that broader group of people who are exploring on their own and finding what resonates with them. I really love the 2 sides of this spectrum, and then
Yeah.
lovely Labradorite right in the middle.
Yeah, and I see how you're putting the stones together and the group together. I understand what you're
Yeah.
saying. So, if someone's really new to your work, what would you recommend that they do? How would you recommend? And if they did, let's say, came in to one tier, can they move between tiers?
Sure. So, I would have answered this question very differently last year. Last year, I would have been like, okay, if you're new to my work, go into the amethyst tier. That's the place you're meant to be. Start small, go slowly, don't whatever, because I don't know if you're going to like it. That would have been the space I would answer from. But then I held the retreat. And an interesting thing happened at the retreat. 50% of the people had been following me for years, and the other 50% I had never heard of in my life. I didn't know these people. They came out of nowhere. They were like, "Hi, I found your work last week and I'm super excited to it and I want to come to Italy." And I was like, "What? Oh gosh, okay. Oh, I don't know. Okay." And it was challenging for me to kind of be like, "Okay, I can trust their higher self. Their higher self's telling them that this resonates. Their higher self is telling them they want to make this investment." I had some money issues at the time too myself. And so I can trust that this person who's a sovereign being knows what they're talking about, and they happen to resonate with Vagrein and with me, and they want to come. So now my answer would be very different. You're going to know which tier feels right to you. You're going to know if right now you're in a position where you're wanting to have quick acceleration and have those challenges, and you need that kick to get you through the next thing or onto the next step, and you want to be in the mold group, but it is a kick, okay? Or you're going to know if you want to be in the Labradorite, where it's a steady, trying to find the words, like a nurtured movement together. Or if you want to be on the amethyst, where you're still exploring, you're still figuring out, you resonate with Vagrein, but you're not sure if there's a million other things you resonate with. And maybe you don't want to devote sort of all of your focus or attention to that acceleration, right? So I really think people should very much feel into themselves if they're thinking about like which is correct for me. And feel free to reach out to me, of course. Maybe I know you already and I can advise which feels correct, sort of on both ends. But I've been surprised so far on who kind of comes in and says, yes, I'm definitely going to do this level or that level. I've been pleasantly surprised because I do have faith in you guys. I don't really have good advice for you, unfortunately. You really do know for yourself which one is going to feel good. And you asked if you can switch from one to another. For the moment, and this is only for the first quarter, hopefully by the time we get to the second quarter, there will be changes into how I can manage things on the back end. But for the first quarter, what I'm saying is choose one. Let's see how it goes. And then
Yeah.
afterwards, when you come into the next quarter, when we get to April 1st would be the beginning of the next quarter, then we can shift. There will be a button in the amethyst and the labradorite sections to like signal that you have an intention to change tiers for the next quarter. And then of course we can talk about it and I can see where I am in terms of the technical stuff, if that's possible, mid subscription, etc. I'm probably going to eventually also roll out that people can subscribe once a month, for example. Just for this now moment, starting it out, I wanted to make sure that people, when they do decide to join, understand that this is a commitment to themselves for 3 months. And you can then choose something different afterwards. But I want people to give themselves the chance. I want people to give themselves a chance to feel anything that comes up. If you feel like, oh gosh, I'm missing my opportunity, or gosh, I'd prefer another tier, but I can't afford it right now, or oh god, whatever's coming up, the work begins even before you're in a membership or anything. Your school is your life, right? So even this question about which tier, right? And anyone who's thinking about this and kind of worrying about which one or which not, great, listen,
Yeah.
what's that worry trying to tell you? I'd say everyone has the ability in themselves to listen in and to feel in. And of course, I'm here if you want to have a chat about it. Anyone who wants to get in touch, be like, hey, I don't know which one is for me. Well, we can figure it out. Yeah.
So, I think you answered a bunch of questions I was going to ask you anyway, which is awesome. You must be a channel, or psychic. But I was going to ask, just so, because you've done this for a while now and you've been both coaching and channeling, and I'm curious, what kind of transformations have you seen for people, and how have you seen people use the work in their day to day to do what you're talking about, right before you get into full confidence, there's self doubt, there's like navigating should I, shouldn't I moments all over the place. So maybe you could just share a little bit from your vantage point what you've seen move for people in the work you've done with Vagrein.
Yeah. So, I've always been someone who has, when I'm speaking with others, two conversations going on at the same time. I have a conversation with the human being, the person in front of me, and what they're saying. And then it's as if I'm aware of the second being. It's almost as if I'm very aware of their non-physical self as well, or what you would call their higher self. And so I'm simultaneously having another conversation when I'm coaching, especially with the person's higher self. But I've learned as well, also probably because of some aspects of my personality, that most people, if they're not already listening to their higher self, do not want to hear it from me. So if you're already knowing that there's something you should be doing, whether it be changing your job or giving yourself an easier time and stopping to beat yourself up, or whatever it is that you're working on and through, if you're not already listening to your higher self, you're not wanting to hear it from a coach. So that's not really Vagrein's job. It's not my job. It's something that is not able to be heard because you have direct access to your higher self. What is instead my job or Vagrein's job, and I think what we attempt to do, and this is sort of like a tag team tandem thing, is make that line a little bit clearer between you and your higher self. So in terms of the transformations I've seen, I'd say I haven't seen any transformations, to be honest, because when I'm meeting with someone at the beginning, I already see them. I already see them as they are. But from the human perspective, I've seen people move to different countries. I've seen people leave perfectly nice relationships that were not fulfilling. I've seen people change jobs. I've seen people step into situations, not even just circumstantially, but within themselves, where they are in a space of, you know what, I don't need to be, you know, a spiritual teacher to be spiritual, or which is also in and of itself, like the person I'm thinking of, the transformation was huge for them. They were allowed to be who they already are instead of striving and trying to figure out how to be something else, right? So there's so many different transformations that are occurring, but it's always the same transformation. It's always simply a returning to that in focus. It's really like when you have binoculars and there's like you're turning them, right? And you're just trying to get them to give you a clear image. So that's basically what I do. There's no helping you to hear that thing. I'm not going to be the messenger of your higher self, but I can turn the dials a little bit so you're getting a little bit closer to figuring it out on your own. And that's what we do. That's what Vagrein and I do. And that is what we facilitate and hold space for without any bias. I really don't care who you are. I really don't. I'm really someone who, and I think this is also probably Vagrein, it's probably something I've adopted from them. We just don't care. We don't care who you are. We just care that you are who you are. And that's really the important thing.
Amazing. Is there anyone you would advise not to come?
Yes, let's see. Who would I advise not to come? Who would I advise not to come? So I don't think it's going to be a space for anyone who, how would I phrase this? I'll just talk with you frankly,
Yeah.
but you know those people who come like that, they want to be in a space to show how much they already know.
Yes.
And that is based upon like they just want to be seen.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's not a space for people to come who want to be seen because they will be seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's almost as if those characters that come who want to be seen in that way, they're being seen as another way of hiding.
Yeah.
So it's a space where there will be vulnerability. And there will be just aspects of being, naked and yourself, and that is really can be difficult. So I would say that if someone hasn't done some of the work of, and not to scare anyone off, especially for the higher tiers, I think it would probably be fine in the amethyst tier to come and just experience the content, consume the content, because that really is the aspect. You don't really have to participate in that tier. But I think that sort of in the labradorite and moldavite tier, if you are in a space where you're not ready to take off at least one or two of your layers, not even to anyone else, but to yourself, then it's going to be an uncomfortable experience to be in this particular type of membership. It's just a question of time, or spending more time with yourself and more time going, well, who do I want to be? And I also think that in terms of the Moldavite layer, if you're coming into the Moldavite tier for yourself, it's not the right tier for you. That tier is definitely for people who are ready to be of service to others, because we're not going to be fixing people in the Moldavite tier. I don't believe anyone in that tier has anything to fix. And that's not just because of who's applied so far. That's because that is really what that project is going to be about. It's going to be about knowing that everything is already perfect and now taking that perfection and bringing it into the world. Well, however that looks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hear maybe the word, tell me if this is a word, I heard as you were speaking the word intimacy.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be an intimate type of experience, authentic type of experience. I'll use authenticity means allowing yourself to be as you are and know that it's okay if it's not how you like it to be. Just know that it's all right. It's all right if you don't like yourself. It's fine. Nothing bad is going to happen if you don't like yourself. What could be a problem is if you don't like yourself and then you're using all the tools and skills that we have adopted over time to try and compensate for that. And I really think that that's where the problems in the world come from. They don't come from sorrow. They don't come from pain. They come from trying to get away from these feelings. And so when you come to a space of being intimate with yourself and others, you're already in a space of giving because you're open.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like, if people are not ready for that, then maybe it's not exactly the right tier. But I also think that the amethyst tier is organized so that beginners or people who are still in a space where they're not quite sure will definitely gain from all of that wisdom and content that's available.
Yeah.
And exposure to other people who are ready, perhaps.
Right. The resonance that you were talking about at the beginning. Well, that's great. Is there anything you want to add?
No, I'm not sure if any of this is making any sense.
It's all making sense. In terms of pricing, I mean, it's down below.
Yeah, exactly. All the details are there. Exactly.
There. It feels like this is very much joy for you.
Yeah.
What are you feeling like is stretching for you in this process?
What is difficult? Like, what's challenging for me? Okay.
Because you're always sharing the truth about yourself, which has been very inspiring.
Yeah.
You're
Absolutely.
making some.
So the challenging aspects are I keep getting this sensation that I'm forgetting something that's fundamental, which I might be. Like I might forget to that's why I go so overboard with informing or marketing, because I'm so afraid that I'm super excited about the project that I'll create this amazing beautiful thing and forget to tell anybody about it. So I actually force myself in the other direction. Like I overshare, because I've been known to have launches where I just don't bother telling anybody I've launched. And that's fine. But I also, I haven't ever created this level on a tech side of things. I'm really very impressed with my ability to create this thing without sort of support. And on the other hand of that, I'm a little bit terrified that someone won't be happy. I'll be like, the files don't load fast enough, or any of those things that I'm certain will come up sooner or later, because they come up even in huge companies. People have expectations that everything's going to be smooth and running perfectly all the time, and so at some point or other somebody will be wanting to have some tech support or not know how something works or whatever, and then there will be that sort of challenge. So that's a little challenging for me. Yeah, but the majority of it is just so much fun. Like it's fun to figure out how to get the user interface to work. It's fun to figure out what to offer to who. It's fun to go through all the old transcripts. It's fun to go through the old audios and clean them up. I mean, there's so much content from the beginning years that has never been touched. Like it's it's just as it was when it was recorded. And it's old and it's slow, but it's amazing. So it's a lot of fun to revisit all of that. It's a lot of fun to sort of even see that Vagrein transmitted something, for example, before COVID, being like, you guys are going to be in your house for a long time. And this was like way before anything had happened. And everyone at that was like, well, that's weird. Why are you saying that? Like, no, I'm going to be traveling. They're like, you're about to have time to yourself. I was like, okay, that's so weird. They said that like a year before or whatever. Like just all these things that are so fun to revisit. And I get so excited thinking about you guys visiting them for the first time. It's an insane amount of content.
Yeah.
Like there will be binging necessary if you want to get through it all. Don't try to get through it all.
Yeah.
Allow your resonance to take you from like one thing to another. Click through, enjoy the site, make it your, thing you do 20 minutes with your coffee in the morning if you want, just enjoy it like it's not like it's a job, but like it's just something provided for you. And then I really feel that the more people put into it in terms of like contributing in the forum or being around for the groups or whatever it is, the more they're going to get out. I have a lot of like ideas and little tips and tricks that people can do with each other as well, that people benefit from. I believe that you had the miracle mornings on one of the So there's all kinds of things like that where connections can be made, and I'm excited to be sharing those types of things with people. And so the majority of it is just plain joy, and then all the other human stuff, sort of performance anxiety. I don't know what it is.
I can't believe you have performance anxiety. I guess the thing that I'm getting pings on is people are going to want to know how much Vagrein time is there. Like, and where is, right? That's kind of like, you said the Vagrein fans. I'm thinking about.
Sure. Like the Vagrein aspect of the Vagrein membership site is all the content.
Yeah.
Now, it's a lot of, like I said, it's a lot of content. And it's as organized as it can be, but it's not necessarily like, okay, I have some particular question or situation. Now I'm going to search in the database and it's going to pop up.
Right.
But for example, I was just going through the old live sessions, the group sessions, which people have always loved and loved and loved. And I transferred them all onto the site. And I did a quick calculation afterwards, and it was 14 hours of content. So in terms of like the direct interaction with Vagrein, right? We're still, like I said, we're still going to have those monthly meetings.
Right.
Those are free to the Moldavite and to the Laborite participants. So they're also available. Yeah. They're also available to the public as well. So public has the availability to buy tickets to that. Yes, people have the availability to buy tickets at 50% off to those. Now, those are my classic Q&A sessions. So if people want to have access to having their question answered with Vagrein, then that is the real place to do that, if not in one-on-one sessions. But the one-on-one sessions are also discounted in the membership. So, for example, Moldavite members get 25% off of any amount of sessions they want to do with me while they're in the membership. And then I'm thinking also eventually in the forum, there will be like a space to, because my intention is to eventually be able to roll out new audios that are only Vagrein, right? So now audios are easy for me to produce because I don't have to do any video editing. I can literally just sit here, channel, and go out, but it's not something I can put on YouTube. So that's a perfect container for the whole membership site. And in the forum, there will be like ask Vagrein your question here page. That way, what I'll do is I'll go through the page when I feel like it, read something off, right, into my mic. It'll be held enough in my mind so I can then do the audio transmission of that week to the questions from the thing. But it'll obviously be selected based upon what I'm feeling like channeling on, right? So that is definitely one of the things that's coming up, but it's not something I've promised on the page yet. It's the things that as we come into month one, I'll see sort of how much steam I have behind stuff like that. I know what I have steam for that I've already committed to, but then there's things like that are already on the cards. Then you have to realize I have all these projects that I still haven't rolled out on, like all these wonderful ideas. And I kind of feel like the ideas were waiting for the membership site to have a container to be put in. Yes. So I had this idea ages ago called tapping in and onto. Okay. And it was a hybrid between the I Ching, human design, the G keys, and EFT tapping. So that series would be EFT tappings based upon the number that we're currently in astrologically and the energies of that number, tapping from the energy of like the shadow of that into the energy of the what's called in the gene keys the city, right? And the thing is, I can do something like this in the membership site in my own container. I can offer stuff like that, and I can make that available to whoever it has access to the audio library, for example. Super excited about that. Or can only be done in the membership, and probably knowing how generous I tend to be with my content will probably end up trickling down to the amethyst regardless. Question and answer and whatever. Yeah. What I can say about the membership site is that there are so many ideas that are coming down the pipeline that can only be executed within the membership site. There are ideas and things that are not going to be suitable for a public forum such as YouTube. They're going to be something that is more intimate, that is more personalized. There's going to be space to interact with the members based upon what it is that you guys are wanting to hear about, to know about, to step into. It's also because of the intimacy of the groups and of all of the tiers, this community, because while there's going to be focus on certain tiers in different ways, to me, it's one unit. The whole membership site is one unit. And what you guys are wanting and asking for will consistently be reflected back in what gets delivered. So if that's more Q&As, or if that's more availability in certain ways, or if that's more, I don't know, even some sort of summit where people get together and everyone gets 30 minutes to show their thing and we share that. Could you imagine if you put together a Zoom summit with all the people from a membership site where everyone gets to submit their beautiful thing?
That's brilliant.
That they're wanting to share, not to try and get clients, but because they know that there's someone out there that's just waiting to hear that thing, or waiting to feel that thing, or waiting to have the same confidence that they basically had to like jump out of their throat in anxiety and fear to get themselves in front of the camera. That other person was just waiting for permission to do it too. Oh my God. Like, I can just see these amazing collaborations coming through from it. It's just.
Yeah, it makes me think that seeking ends when sharing begins.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it really is. It's that end. It's the end to it all of all of what we've been doing up until now, really. So that's really my intention. And if I can play that small part in people's lives, sort of being there consistently, something that's guiding them through, well then why shouldn't I? Like, why would I hoard that to myself? And I feel like if everyone can get to that point where they're like, if I can help one person, I'm a selfish bastard for not doing it, then, we're all going to be in a way better place, 3 months from now. And that's maybe all it takes.
I can definitely say that I've been on the receiving end of your genius and your offering. So I'm super grateful, and I'm very excited for what you've created and what's going to happen next.
I hope you really enjoyed that session and the information that came through. If you're curious and you want to know more about the membership site, do visit the link in the comments, www.jpherman.com/membership-site, so that you can sign up for the launch on January 1st, or you can apply to be one of the Moldavite members of the site. I'm taking applications right now. And please stay tuned for the second part of this two-part series, which is coming up in just a little while. And make sure to hit the bell notification, like, and subscribe so that you know exactly when that second part with the Vagrein transmission and channeling on the membership site coming up soon on this channel. See you again.